Hey friends, what's going on? This is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about Russia and 5G. Yep, we're in the middle of a gigantic disinformation war, and it's coming from all sides. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, where you can get all of my latest articles, videos, interviews. You can get content from other content creators. We've got some new people joining the channel pretty soon. And of course, you can follow up with our Divest from Facebook campaign and join us on minds.com. So that's the Conscious Resistance Network, where I'm putting exclusive articles and videos. Now, before I get into this, I do want to say that I'm trying to take, I say trying because I don't always succeed. I'm trying to take a short break, a week, maybe 2 weeks away from creating YouTube videos while I focus on finishing my next book, Counter Economics: How to Opt Out of the Coming Social Credit State, which I'm a couple months behind. Just been so busy making videos and just staying, connected with you guys, which I very much appreciate all your support. But I think I want to get this book out sooner rather than later. So I'm going to try to get away from doing videos over the next week or two. But this story popped up yesterday, and it just felt like, holy crap, I cannot ignore this, right? New York Times, which we all know, New York Times has been around for a long time. They're guilty of what is now known as fake news or just disinformation in the past. They've been exposed in the past for working with the CIA and other intelligence agencies, and I would say this is a practice that continues on till today. Not that every single person at New York Times is a CIA agent, but that the collaboration does continue. And this article published just 2 days ago: your 5G won't hurt you, but Russia wants you to think otherwise. Here we go. RT America, a network known for sowing disinformation, has a new alarm: the coming 5G apocalypse. So right away you can see where this is going. It's obvious that New York Times wants people to think that only Russia wants you to believe that there's something wrong with 5G. I'll link you to this article. You can read through it. But essentially what it comes down to is them saying that only quack scientists and people who don't understand radio waves and radiation are worried about this, and then Russia's trying to amplify it because they want to create dissent within the United States. Now, before we go any further, let's just say this. Of course, that is true to some extent. All governments want to create dissent and sow seeds of civil war and disobedience in their opposition nations. This is why the U.S. funds protest movements and has overthrown governments around the world. The other nations, Russia and I'm sure others, are trying to do the same thing. So there we are, as free people trying to just live and survive. We are swimming in a sea of misinformation and disinformation, and it's up to us to be educated and critically thinking and to have those skill sets to be able to challenge these narratives and to be discerning. So that's important to establish, that all sides are using propaganda, right? But this is a common tactic by the U.S., is to paint any opposition to something that they don't want people questioning as a Russian psychological operation. Obviously, we know about the intelligence agencies claiming that Russia was involved in 2016 election fraud or hacking. They've changed the language so many times. So now they're saying that RT, specifically RT America, which they call the cat's paw of Putin, has been doing their best to stoke the fears of American viewers. And they go on describing different reports about 5G, and it says analysts see RT's attack on 5G as geopolitically bold. It targets a new world of interconnected futuristic technologies that would reach into consumers' homes, aid national security, and spark innovative industries. So they're basically saying Russia's attacking this because it'll make America strong and it'll help consumers and make us more strong as a nation and spark innovation, right? And it's economic warfare, according to Ryan Fox, chief operating officer of New Knowledge, a technology firm that tracks disinformation. Russia doesn't have a good 5G play, so it tries to undermine and discredit ours. And they also talk about the conflict between Beijing and China. But let's just get further into this. Basically, like I said, this whole thing is just, you can read through it yourself. They're saying the only people who are talking about this are quack scientists and doctors who nobody respects, and Russia's bringing them on to amplify this. And that there's nothing we should worry about. And they kind of end this really interestingly. That Mr. Fox, the operations officer of New Knowledge, said the network's aggressive spin on 5G, RT he's talking about, their aggressive spin on 5G suggests Moscow is less interested in serving the public than dulling Washington's edge in the global race for the digital future. It's information warfare. And as I said, it is definitely information warfare, but not in the way that they're selling it. And basically, they go through all the different RT reports, and their point here is to say, well, Russia is actually welcoming 5G, and even apparently there are millimeter wave therapies that you can do in Russia. So why would Russia accept 5G in their country while using the network to expose Americans to this? Well, I think, again, it's obvious they want Americans to question things, but they probably don't want their own people to question things. So yeah, every nation is in a race to 5G, but that doesn't mean that they won't report on it to their enemies. So they want the Americans to question 5G because it can create problems over here, and that serves our purposes because we're trying to wake people up, but they have a different goal. So I think that kind of, you can get around the nonsense that the New York Times is trying to paint. But let's look at this. They quote 3 different people in this article. Ryan Fox, Chief Operating Officer of New Knowledge, technology firm they say that tracks disinformation. They quote Molly McKew, head of Fianna Strategies, a consulting firm in D.C. that seeks to counter Russian disinformation, which she said the Kremlin would really enjoy getting democratic governments tied up in fights over 5G's environmental and health hazards. So they just think that, it's just the Kremlin wanting us to argue about health and protecting the environment, and there's no real concerns. And then there's another person quoted in here. Let me see. This is always important to do, to see who are the experts that they are quoting that they want you to believe and to think about. Where are they coming from? What are their reputations and their work history? They quote a RAND study, which is like, okay, so they quote somebody from New Knowledge. And then I think the other one I noticed was Graphica. Let's see. Yeah, Graphica. So it says, RT successfully feeds the conspiracy-oriented ecosystem from John Kelly, Chief Executive of Graphica, a network analytics firm. So let's go ahead and look into this, right? Molly McKew, Fianna Strategies. There's her Twitter account, and she is a writer and CEO of the consulting firm. Look, she has a page on the Carnegie Council, so you'll recognize the name Carnegie. That should be a sign, but let's go further. This is the only thing on FiannaStrategies.com. There's literally nothing, just a phone number, and it says not secure. This is like a pretty crappy website for somebody who's involved in apparently doing big, important consulting work, and that's being quoted all over the media. And then I found this tweet from @TheWarEconomy. Fianna Strategies was launched by Molly McKew, who will be in charge of providing services to the Georgian PM's office. She was with the Podesta Group, which is a contractor of the Georgian National Security Council since 2010. And this is coming from different emails here that I've found that you can start looking through. It says that these two are on Politico this morning advocating for war against Russia. PM hires U.S. public and government relations consultants. And this is basically just showing a little bit of her history, that she's been involved in Georgian politics, so that might be why she has something against Russia. Now look at this though. I found this from Dustin Gable on Medium. Molly McKew, information war expert, and it kind of goes a little bit further into who she is. And again, these people are not just random people that they're picking on the street, off the street. They have their own bias and their own interests. So check out more about Molly McKew, and then let's go look into what was the second place that we saw, Graphica. Graphica creates large-scale maps of social media landscapes and provides in-depth analysis to help clients and partners understand and navigate complex online works. Founded in 2013 by Dr. John Kelly, pioneer in the field. So they track disinformation, basically is what it's saying here. Graphica is committed to expanding the frontiers of data science applied to social network analysis and informing public discourse on the manipulation of online conversation. Go back a little bit, it says disinformation, fake news, and influence campaigns on Twitter. So there's just another one of the organizations involved in tracking fake news and disinformation put forward by the media like New York Times. Dr. Kelly is the founder of Graphica, recognized as an expert on computational techniques for measuring online behavior. He was invited to provide his expert testimony on foreign interference in the U.S. election before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. So again, somebody else who's involved in promoting the Russia hacking narrative, Russia disinformation narrative. Here's his Crunchbase profile, founder of Graphica, got his degree in Columbia University, associated with Harvard as well. You got to look into who these people are that are being quoted. And then we have another one here, New Knowledge. New Knowledge, something is wrong on the internet. And we look it up. New Knowledge is an information integrity company created by experts in national security, digital media, and machine learning. We protect brands and industries from online campaigns that manipulate their narratives and damage reputation. Founded in 2015, we were the first organization outside the U.S. intelligence community to identify Russia's campaign to influence 2016 elections. So again, another organization that is involved in the Russia narrative. Now, maybe you say that makes sense because, well, the article itself is about Russia's influence on American politics and, 5G particularly. So they're going to go get a bunch of experts in that field. Yes, that's one way to look at it, but it's also another way to say, like, these people are presented as if they're just experts in this particular area when they also seem to have a bias towards accepting the Russian narrative that has already been shown to not necessarily be completely true. That the way that's being hyped, that it was told that there was a hack, that there was, this different thing, this idea that there is a complete consensus in the intelligence community about Russian interference in the election. These things are not true, but the New York Times perpetuates them, and then they bring in these people to also continue to perpetuate that narrative and to feed into that, and now people are going to think that anybody who questions 5G is a crazy person. I did a search earlier. Let's check it out on Google. I know Google, but because I want you guys to see what other people are seeing. Search Russia and 5G right now, and New York Times, conspiracy theories that 5G phones cause cancer originate from Russia. As Russia plans for 5G, Russian propaganda outlet says 5G will kill you. New York Times, Russia is attacking 5G with health disinformation campaigns. Conspiracy theories, and so they're using the words conspiracy theories, attack, Russia. And that's pretty much the narrative that's being pushed now. So expect, my friends, those of you who are out there having these discussions, expect in the coming days and weeks to be called the Russian agent if you question these narratives and if you question 5G. And then I want to show you guys briefly, I think I may have done a video, an article about this in the past. I couldn't find it, but you guys might remember this. Look at this. This is the New York Times as well, posting about this. Your 5G phone won't hurt you, so why is a Russian propaganda network warning of dire health hazards? And then if you look at the comments, though, it's actually kind of cool. I'd believe the Russians over the New York Times every day of the week. I can't believe you're on Twitter knowing full well the technology will kill you. People are they're arguing about it, but there are people definitely saying U.S. liberal propaganda newspapers such as New York Times is suspiciously confident that 5G won't hurt us. And people, they're just going on. They're challenging the New York Times. RT is a joke, as are any claims that 5G on the microwave spectrum would be any different. Russia's just mad that Swedish company Ericsson is about to make bank while Russia's economy gets demolished. So you can go on there and join that debate if you want to. But I think it's pretty interesting. People are actually challenging the New York Times. But this isn't the first time they've blamed movements in the United States on Russia. Russia blamed for anti-GMO campaign and pushing American gun rights. This was reported over a year ago now, saying that the reason people in America are questioning GMOs and the safety or labeling laws or just, want more research and people want their gun rights. Oh, it's because of RT and Sputnik. It's because of Russian propaganda. This is reported from Iowa State University research by the Des Moines Register. And we have the study right here that you can look at. Essentially what it comes down to is them, same thing with 5G, is saying that people who question these things are just buying into Russian propaganda. Sowing the seeds of skepticism, Russia state news, and anti-GMO sentiment. That's the study. I'll put all these links in there. There's another report about it. Russia uses information warfare to portray GMOs negatively. Almost all anti-GMO articles in the U.S. are clickbait promoted by Russian propaganda sites. I mean, come on. It couldn't be more blatant that this is... They're afraid. The establishment is afraid of people challenging what's in their food and asking questions and trying to be healthy and thinking clearly, mentally, physically, spiritually. The establishment is concerned that people are questioning their 5G rollout. This is a corporatist takeover. You should be aware. Those of you who are against both government and corporations. Verizon and the telecom lobby, the CTIA, are partnering with cities and partnering with the government, the FCC, the federal government, to roll this out despite any potential health concerns, despite any potential privacy concerns. And not only is that going on, but they're using the federal government to take away local power so that you have no say on how much your city or your town wants to charge the companies or where they can place it or whether or not you can study it for health. I mean, these are things that are technically illegal according to the federal government. Any locality who chooses to do so will face lawsuits. But that's where we're at now, guys. Anybody who's questioning GMOs and wants gun rights or wants to question 5G, you're just buying the Russian disinformation propaganda. You might be a Russian agent. And, it's only a matter of time before I get called a Russian agent. I've been on RT before, not because I like the Russians at all. And in fact, I don't know if I will continue to do so, but I think it's important to recognize that RT, the reason people go there is because the American media is so bought and controlled, we have to go to a foreign government to try to get real news out. And that doesn't mean we support them or endorse them, but that's just how crappy the media is in America. But please share the support, guys. Thank you so much for the support, and just keep spreading awareness so that we can get people questioning and challenging 5G. Until next time, remember, you're powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.